Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our meeting today for the San Bernardino International Airport Authority regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, April the 27th, 2022, and it is approximately 3:04 p.m. At this time, I would like to ask our clerk to please do a roll call.
Yes, certainly. Please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Thank you. Please also note Dr. G is in the audience. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Please also note that Member Duper is in the audience. Members from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
Don Rao.
Thank you. Members from the City of Highland.
Penny Lowburn.
Thank you. And Member McCowan is also in the audience. And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Fred Charette.
Thank you very much. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Today we do not have a closed session, so we will move right into our agenda for today. And if I could please ask Supervisor Rowe to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand and join me in saluting to the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor. Madam Clerk, are there any items on the agenda to be added or deleted?
None that I know of. Correct, Mr. Burrows?
Thank you. Item F, conflict of interest. Any members of the commission willing to declare a conflict of interest? Hearing none, seeing none. We'll move on to item G, informational items. And then we are going to have the Chief Executive's report. Mr. Burrows, please.
So I have one quick one, and then I'm going to ask Ms. Pritchett to give you kind of a recent personnel update that's important, I think, for everybody. But last Friday, Ms. Pritchett and I were invited out to our Amazon Air Hub, and it was a celebration of their one-year anniversary. So the general manager wanted me to extend his thanks to all of you, and it was kind of neat. They didn't do any flying on Earth Day at the hub, so that the employees and their families could come and just enjoy. You know, a little chilly, but we did all right. Anyhow, Kat, if you could tell them the news.
Excellent. Thank you, and good afternoon. Late last week, we received notification from our airport manager, Nick Person, who is generally sitting right behind me. He's out for other reasons, but he did provide notice that he is leaving the agency effective in about 2 weeks. He has accepted a position in the industry in Rhode Island, so he will be moving his family across the country. Very excited for him, great opportunity, huge loss for us. However, one thing our agency does very well is internal training and succession planning. So we're proud to announce that our current airport operations supervisor, John Galvan, is both well qualified and willing to step into that role as an interim position until we can get through August 4th. And then at that point, we'll make some more permanent staffing decisions. But Nick will be missed, but we are certain John will succeed. So with that, thank you.
And you will recall John being here in front of you all from time to time. He really does a great job, a lot of heart, and organizes our emergency exercises, but he's also our airport security coordinator. So he is neck deep with TSA right now. So good guy. Mr. Cousineau.
If I may, please.
I'm sorry?
For the record, Mayor Valdivia showed up at 3:04 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted.
And then, Mr. Cousineau, we thank you to our Finance and Budget Committee members. We just had a update from Mr. Cousineau on our progress going into budget season, and any updates you'd like to comment on, Mark.
Thank you, Mike. Other than to say that our budget is tracking as to expectations. It's pretty much all favorable for both revenues and expenditures as they're combined together. So with that, we discussed some items, and some of the items you'll see on agenda item 11 today for budget adjustments. And we also discussed the auditor selection process, and we will be bringing a recommendation to the commission next meeting in May. And that concludes my report.
That concludes my reports.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the agenda item H. These are commission consent items, items number 3 through number 9. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, approval by Mayor Valdivia and a second by Supervisor Rao to approve consent calendar items 3 through 9. Madam Clerk, a roll call vote, please.
Yes, we have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rao. Members, please state your vote for the record. Member Navarro,
Yes.
Member Rigsby,
Yes.
Member Rao,
Yes.
Member Lilburn,
Yes.
Member Valdivia,
Yes.
and Member Charette. Yes. Thank you. The items pass unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to commission action items. Item number 10 is to conduct a San Bernardino International Airport Authority budget workshop. Mr. Burrows.
So I will start this off, and then Mr. Cousineau will pick it up here shortly. So many of you will recall, I believe it was last fall, we had what we felt as staff, a very productive workshop with you all up in the international terminal. And so this is kind of an update of where we are to date going into your budget. So next slide, if you could, Jen. All right, just a reminder, this is kind of our backyard here at the airport. Shows you kind of the concentration of our business lines, where those activities are located. And obviously, we've got a lot of work as we move finally into commercial passenger service. So, as you'll see, the various market segments here expanded out. That's the footprint we have to work with, and doing all we can to maximize what revenue and activity we can out of every square inch of the property. And big thanks to our team for always thinking out of the box and coming up to you all with some recommendations where we can grow those services. So next slide, if you could. So this is actually an update to the other slices of the pie that you got to see in the fall. And obviously air cargo has grown. And we leapt into the top 35 cargo airports in the country this past year. And all expectations is we should be knocking on top 25, if not top 20, going into this year. Because again, a lot of that was pre-Amazon activity. UPS continues to crank, as does FedEx, and our charter activity still continues on that side. And then now commercial aviation or commercial passenger, that's right on the precipice here. So we've retained well too throughout post-pandemic. Recoveries, and that includes our FBO, our fixed base operator, and their clientele. Many airports, as you've heard us talk about during COVID, had their activity truly fall off a cliff. We had obviously one really slow month, but then it started picking back up. So we want to, obviously say thank you to our customers there. Our aircraft maintenance companies continue to work the work, and all is good. So. Diversifying the portfolio is constantly what airports do, and we're no exception to that. Next slide. So, Mr. Gibbs, talk about air cargo. Your favorite.
As you can see on the slide, this market segment continues to grow at the airport. So if you go back to 2017, the airport was essentially dead last in the country in terms of airports that serve all freighter cargoes, or all freighter cargo aircraft, I should say. And as you can see, in 2017, that's the year that UPS joined us initially, and they've never left. In 2018, it turned into a long-term lease with both UPS and FedEx. And what's interesting about this graph is the significant growth that we've seen was really, to Mike's point, it was pre-Amazon. They began flying a year ago in April. As Mike mentioned, it was Earth Day of 2021. And you can see the trend is continuing, so this trend will continue until at least 2022 and probably a bit beyond before it starts to level off.
Next slide, Jim. So this is obviously our latest chapter with Breeze Airways, and we wanted to kind of walk through some of the components of it. You have much more detail in your packet. And of course, on the open agenda with many of the moving parts that we've got to do with budgets to really, truly open the doors and start flying. So next slide. So these are some of the sort of elements that passenger service entails. Your cost centers, We have recommendations on an interim basis, pre-launch, and then in your new budget complexion, as we discussed with the Finance Committee, those cost centers will get further expanded as we get into recommendations in June. The good news is, yeah, there's some upfront expenses that we're having to endure, and you have before you many of those today. But there are also future revenues that help, again, the airport diversify, you know, you know, obviously the cash flows out there. And again, job opportunities, all of the things that come with it. So the parking revenues, being that the parking lots are bought and paid for, we think will be some decent, more, I would call fixed income. It's technically variable by nature, but many airports do quite well with that. And then we'll be getting into those other categories. Obviously, you're already seeing more grant funding, but just a reminder, if we get 10,000 employments in 1 year, we're automatically guaranteed $1 million in additional AIP entitlement grants. And that's the beauty of the air cargo and passenger formulas, which is why obviously many airports pursue those. And then many of the other things you've already seen.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Through the chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Burrows, you said 1,000 deployments?
No,
or-
10,000 emplanements. So that's people in seats
Yeah.
over a calendar year. And that's actually a program that Jerry Lewis started in Congress when he was in the seat.
Never heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, but you know, obviously, as you all well know, and thank you again for your support for our Small Community Air Service Development Grant that's going through the process. This is over and above that. This goes to capital fixes, whereas the other is an airline subsidy support. So, next slide, Jen. All right, so this is sort of I don't know if it's a macrocosm or a microcosm. It's probably both. This is sort of a breakdown of many of the detail components that you have in your packet. And Mr. Cousineau has obviously, you know, all of the backup to nitty gritty. So amidst everything else, when we're coming to you and requesting budget adjustments of those things, I mean, we're across the board constantly doing procurement right now. And it's all full court press. So these are the major categories. Obviously, you'll see a small component for TSA, and I wanted to touch on that because unlike Customs and Border Protection, TSA, even though they're also Homeland, they're a different part of Homeland, they'll actually pay us rent in the terminal. You know, it's pretty unique. That's why they're a big critical piece of what we're doing here. And then a lot of it is what you'd expect. Terminal equipment, IT systems, you know, monitors, cameras, radios, that kind of thing. And then signage. So we talked with the Finance Committee a little bit about this. You know, our terminal is great. We like our terminal, but it's kind of hard to find. And, you know, obviously we've been prepping to update signage on the heels of an airline partner. We have that now. And so you'll see that in your agenda packet. And then marketing. So these are ad placements to help support launch of service. The Aviatrix team has been working hand in hand with us to prepare for those placements and the like. But this is part of, you know, what we need to do to support the new service and also remind people that you now have the ability to fly to SFO out of San Bernardino. So good opportunity. And then you'll see in red where IVDA has stepped up for our IVDA partners to help with the bricks and mortar on the roadways, and then, of course, the airline incentive. So, Cousineau, anything to add on those?
The only thing I would add, Mike, is that we are tracking these. We've actually updated the worksheet that we're using to track our pending and approved expenditures or appropriations. So
Yeah.
we can update this relatively quick right now.
Yeah, and you know, I won't say we're done. I mean, this is a big lift on your agenda today. That's a lot of it. There still probably will be some more in May. But thank you for your patience with that. Mr. Gibbs, anything to add?
No, I believe that covers it.
Okay. And then if you want to get into the detail packet, we're happy to answer any questions there, but wanted to kind of stop there and defer back to the chair.
So we
Are you proposing to schedule?
We
a
certainly
meeting
can, yeah. We wanted to make darn sure you got the detail that obviously the executive ad hoc got. As Mark said, we did refresh it as new numbers came in after that, before this meeting, and we are happy to calendar another workshop. If you want, we could maybe do it over in the international terminal again, but that's up to the commission.
Yeah, I would like to see a workshop
Okay.
to follow up on this so that everybody on the commission
Yeah.
can get all the details of where we're going, where we're at, where we're going, and the needs.
And it's very helpful for staff, particularly at this juncture on airport, because of how the budget complexion changes.
Sure.
For you all, it's going to start looking a little more like a city or county budget on some of these cost centers, but there's a really specific way we've got to organize it for FAA and airline audit. So.
Yeah. So let's set up the workshop and
Okay.
and then send out e-bites if you would, please, and
Yes.
get the input from the commission members as to their availability.
Okay, I'll work with Jen and her team on that,
All right,
absolutely.
thank you.
So that's,
Any other comments or questions on item number 10? I'm sorry. Any public comment on this item? Oh, this is consent. No, it's not.
No public comment.
No public comment, okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Okay. Mayor Valdivia move to approve, and Mayor Lilburn does the second. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Leo, did we need a vote on that item, or are we okay? Just to receive it and
helpful in
file?
that they've directed staff to
Okay.
schedule the workshop.
Schedule the workshop? Gotcha. All right, so we have, I'm sorry, can you repeat the motion and the second? Was it Member Valdivia who motioned?
Yeah, somebody wants the motion repeated. The motion
Yes, please.
is to approve item 11 to include the workshop scheduling.
Yes,
Item 10, yes, on item 10.
yes.
Yes.
And motion by Member Valdivia and a second by
Correct.
Milburn.
Lilburn?
Yep.
Thank you very much. All right, so the motion is to continue with to schedule a workshop for the entire commission. Members, please state your vote for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 11, consider and adopt a proposed budget adjustments for fiscal year 2021-2022. Before we go into the presenter, I need to ask a question of our legal. Mr. Huber, since item 12 is a service agreement with the city of San Bernardino for the provision of law enforcement services, that is going to be a budget adjustment also?
Yes, it's a new account in
It's
the
a new
budget,
account,
and
so
Mark can point that out.
It doesn't deflect anything from item 11, does it?
Well, no, we need 11 approved so we can do 12.
Go 12, okay, that's what I thought. All right, thank you. So item 11, Mr. Mark Cosano, if you would, please.
Thank you. This item is a combination of ongoing and quarterly and passenger readiness budget adjustments. With that, we are looking at a net decrease in net income overall for the SBIAA budget of $289,040. That includes an increase in budgetary expenditures of $1,676,190, along with an increase in budgetary revenues of $1,387,150. Items A, or notes A, F, K, and M are what I would call net zero adjustments. They are either intra-fund or inter-fund amongst various line items to just adjust and eliminate overages. Items are notes B, C, D, and J are appropriation increases or adjustments to expenditures and revenues to make sure that they're matched up. And the remaining notes are for items that are for passenger readiness at the terminal. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from commissioners regarding item, item 11?
Move approval.
Any public comment on the, when I have a motion?
No
for
public
approval
comments
from
on item 11.
Mr. Rigsby, and Chair will entertain a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments on this item.
Okay. Anybody in the public wishing to address this item? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Yes, we have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Rao. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn,
Yes.
Member Valdivia,
Yes.
and Member Shred.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 12. Approve the form of a service agreement with the City of San Bernardino for the provision of law enforcement services to support scheduled air passenger service in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Presenting on this is Catherine Pritchett. Ms. Pritchett.
Good afternoon again. Thank you for approving 11 so we can consider 12. As Mike discussed and reported, an important component of the airport security plan related to air passenger service at SBD is the provision of law enforcement during TSA designated periods of operation. Before you this afternoon is a form service agreement with the City of San Bernardino for the provision of those law enforcement services. Through this agreement, the city is committing 2 assigned police officers to the terminal during designated operational periods. The term of this agreement is for 180 days, which allows SBD to meet the TSA security obligation, as well as provide agency staff and city staff additional time to work through the details of a more permanent agreement. Commission approval will allow the CEO to execute final documents following final review by legal counsel. And I would like to thank city staff for all the work that they did, both from PD and City Hall, to get this agreement finalized. So it's been a voyage, but we made it. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pritchett. Comments or questions from commissioners? Mayor?
I did, and something that we spoke about in the Budget Committee. I just had a concern on items 9 and 10, maybe striking those, and I know you spoke about possibly they were going to be striked, because I think on 10, that just is open-ended, and, you know, the costs could be astronomical with that, and special events. I'm not sure that we're on track with special events. This is for services to the passenger service, not special events. So I'm not sure if we should commingle those costs.
Sure, and I can speak to both of those. The training is actually a provision that we already cover with current PD officers who respond to events at the airport. That is a budgeted line item in our current budget. So it will not be included in these funds. With the special events, these officers will not be assigned to any special events that we may have here. They are specifically designated to the law enforcement services required by TSA. But we're happy to look into those suggestions.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Someone else? Mayor Valdivia? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to commend our airport staff. I think the opportunity for us to continue to growth at the airport, and these are growing pains that are good for an agency such as ours to have. I want to commend our San Bernardino Police Department and our chief for their great work in working with our airport agency, and we thank you, Mr. Burrows. This is a long time coming, and we're excited about it. This is a great opportunity for us to collaborate and partner. We will send our best officers. We're excited about that. I'm fully supportive of it, and I want to move for approval on this.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Comment, please? I have
Yes, I'll
comments
come back
also.
to comments.
I do not have a second. I would just have questions.
Okay. Do I have a second on this item?
I'll second.
Okay. And I think that Mr. Surratt, you're next.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have to say, and it kind of contradicts what the mayor just said, we are certainly supportive of this at the city, but we have some concerns with some of the language in the contract, and we do oppose in the contract having the term not to exceed. You have in there not to exceed $50,000, and we do oppose that. And the only thing we want to clarify is that we will be covered 100% fully burdened for these officers for the entire term. So I think having a not to exceed comment in there really should be taken out. And I thought that had maybe been worked out prior to this meeting, but it doesn't appear that it's been taken care of.
We have actually worked out some of those details. The $50,000 amount was the amount we anticipated through the end of the fiscal year through the term of this agreement only. We do not anticipate these expenses exceeding that by any means. A lot of the training will be done in-house, so there's no cost to that for the staffing services, but we will 100% pay both the fully burdened straight rate and overtime rate for any time the officer spent here on site. So we will work with city staff.
If it exceeds 50,000.
We'll work with staff to strike that language.
Well, I'd feel more
legal.
comfortable if we could eliminate that term and just leave it that you will cover fully burdened costs for the term. It's 180 days, and whatever that term is, or whatever that term we agreed to, that it covers without clarify that it covers.
But shouldn't those be outlined as a line item?
Because it's airport revenue,
Hold on.
because it's airport revenue, we can only pay for the services rendered. And if they don't show up, we shouldn't pay.
Well, we're not asking you to pay for somebody that's not showing up. But
That was the intent of the language.
But but when you put a not to exceed, if it does exceed, then what do we do?
We amend.
So Councilman, maybe I can shed a little bit of additional
ahead.
light onto this item, if I may, Mayor. So this was the former contract at the time of posting, and since then, to your point, that $50,000 limit, that was a stopgap measure to get this thing on the agenda. So since that time, Kat has worked with your legal counsel as well as PD for that 180 days. So it's 100% of the fully burdened rate for the initial 30 days. And I believe in the latest version, that has been lifted, if I'm not mistaken, Kat.
That's correct. We're waiting to execute the final agreement, and upon execution, we can send it out to the commission. But that 50,000 was discussed, and it will be taken out of the agreement.
So that's all we want
Yes.
to clarify, is that it's not, there is no not to exceed in there.
Correct.
And that we get covered fully for whatever the officers are doing and for whatever time they're fully burdened officers.
100%.
Okay, I just wanted to put that on the record and clarify that. Thank you.
Supervisor Rowe.
Thank you. So I have several questions. So that actually leads into one of mine. I know we have a shortage of law enforcement officers countywide, no matter what the department. So if we are missing regular officers and they assign a captain and a lieutenant, and then we're being billed by the city
Right.
for captain and lieutenant rates, then that's incumbent upon us then to foot that bill. Is that correct?
No, Kat, clarify that. I believe it does specify in the agreement that these are patrol officers, so they're the P1s.
Yes, they are designated as P1 level officers.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, not that the county could absorb it, but were other agencies consulted? Colton?
Absolutely.
County?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, Mr. Burrows and myself, and I know Kat's been working on it, and I don't know, Mark's been involved in it also. We have reached out to other agencies. As a matter of fact, I had a meeting with Supervisor Baca to bring this to his attention. I met with our city manager, our police chief, and we're also reaching out to the city of Rialto and the city of Fontana. What we want to do is to have a backup where we can alternate, so not burden each agency, so that we can alternate those agencies to come into the airport and provide that security service. And that's the goal of it.
But one of the key elements of this is with San Bernardino stepping up at the right time, it's exactly what we need to have TSA keep the pace and get us all over the goal line.
And I also had made a note on the special events that it seems like that would be more appropriate for our airport security to cover rather than.
And they do. They do. And like I said, we have a special line item in the budget to cover any of those expenses, but those are traditionally taken care of by airport security.
So then do we need to have that in this?
No.
Okay.
And if I might make one final comment, that under no circumstance are we interested in holding up the TSA or throwing a monkey wrench in the process, but we just want to be sure that we're fully covered and for our costs.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ms. Dilmer.
I wanted some clarification. So this 50,000 is just for the 180 days?
That's right.
And so shouldn't you have a line item contract that addresses where we're getting this 50,000? So City of San Bernardino feels comfortable in not to
Absolutely.
exceed?
In the budget adjustments, Mr. Cudino added a special account to
Right.
specifically track this 50K. So it's isolated, auditable, the whole bit.
Thank you.
Yeah. So rest assured, Mr. Charette, everything's covered. They will be covered. They will be taken care of.
That's all we're concerned about.
That's right. Thank
Well, and
you.
if we
Fair
did
enough.
the counterfoil with our staff, I'd want to do the same thing for the airport. So it's just, we don't want
President?
people subsidizing.
Go ahead, Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you, sir. If I may, to clarify, Mr. President, I think you suggested, and maybe I just have a hearing problem, and I probably do, but could you please clarify are you suggesting that the agencies of Rialto and Fontana, they're on a backup call order? Or are you suggesting then that these agencies may have an opportunity to also be involved in patrol here at our airport?
Yes, and I'll pass it over to Ms. Pritchett, because she's been working on this more extensively than I have.
And to the supervisor's point, a lot of our local law enforcement agencies are having difficult time staffing. Having that redundant opportunity to rely on, first, our partner agencies, the county, Colton, I believe that's it with the partners, and being able to reach out to other local entities in the event that we do need that redundant service. If we don't have law enforcement, we jeopardize our flights. So we want to make sure we have those opportunities to reach out if necessary. San Bernardino PD right now is at the forefront of providing those services. We're
Well,
looking
let me
forward-
stop you right there. I think that's where my particular prerogative would be as representative of San Bernardino. I want the San Bernardino Police Department here.
As do we.
I think that's the emblem of the community for our community, for this airport. Our city does pay significant copay to be part of this airport agency. And so now, Mr. Burrows, I think that, we're headed in the right direction. The trajectory should be that San Bernardino Police Department certainly has first priority here. And as we vet the opportunities to continued growth, to see what other staffing opportunities might exist. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this item?
Mayor Navarro, we have one public speaker asleep.
Okay, I'll be right with you. Go ahead.
Why I appreciate Mayor Valdivia's comments that we are all agencies of this organization. And I think as public stewards, we look out for the best coverage and the best law enforcement with the pricing that, and if you recall before, we had a larger budget proposal from the city of San Bernardino, so we had to go back to the drawing board. So I think just as public stewards that we need to really watch our budget and what we're paying for, that we are conscientious of what we're offering, so.
Okay. Any other comments? Supervisor Roll.
Just one more question, because I know we're dealing with shortages of staff. What happens if for some reason there's a shortage of those officers? What's plan B?
So I'll let Mr. Gibbs answer that, because there's, some not as good options, but Mark, can you explain the TSA answer to that?
Yeah, you bet. And these are these end up as federal requirements, and having a strong backup plan is important. It's why we like the direction that we're headed, because it's a strong, deep bench, right? That's the goal. To your point, when it comes to staffing shortages, that's particularly why we're considering all options so that we're not left short. Making sure that these flights are covered is everything to us. And whether that's local law enforcement, whether it's an agency outside of the family, whether it's federal law enforcement, we can't leave any stone unturned. It's too important for this agency.
So then the corollary, Fred, to your concern would be that I understand you wanting your entity to be covered for all costs. But if you can't provide, is there some way that then you reimburse us for coming up short?
I am not privy to those negotiations, and I wouldn't do that here from this. I wouldn't do this from here, from this dais. I'd have to table the item and send it back for some more work. But I don't think we want to do that.
We definitely don't want to do that.
And so, no, I can't commit to us paying you back if we. I am assuming there's a contract that we're going to provide the service, and we'll provide it one way or another based on the contract. So if I can't say that we're going to pay you back if we don't send somebody, but we're going to send somebody.
Supervisor, if I may, I think the urgency and the opportunity for continued growth at the airport, I certainly understand the urgency for Breeze Airways to be here. And I think most of our agency understands the implications of not having accurate and up-to-date policing strategies for the airport. And so I believe that there is a priority from the mayor's office, certainly my office, to make sure that we have those staffing levels So we will prioritize those opportunities to make sure that there's officers here.
Thank you.
And the short answer is, when all else fails, we do have good partners with TSA.
Yep.
And they pull for us. They really do. Yeah, we even reached out to Customs at one point to say, hey, maybe your folks can come over in a pinch. So there's a few things, but we need to actually get ahead of it with the entire cadre of the folks that we work with. San Bernardino, because we've worked with them over the years, being in their backyard here, has already got some officers that have gone through what's called LEO training, law enforcement officer, for airports. And that's what Ms. Pritchett was talking about, where we send those that, come out and work shifts to get kind of pre-certified in that. They've lost some with attrition, but we need to get them up to date and current. And TSA needs to say, all right, this is who I'm dancing with. And this month was critical for it. So just appreciate you all considering it.
And it is for a kind of an interim or temporary period, right? 180, I mean.
The contract that CAT has before you, absent the modifications you all talked about, is 180 days.
180 days. And so we'll be able to cover that. And of course, we want to get into a permanent situation where we need a lot of officers out here. I mean, so I don't want to sound like San Bernardino is trying to throw a monkey wrench in the thing and stop the flights.
We're not.
We're not. And we want to just make sure that we're covered, and we want to do what's best for our city. I have to put on my San Bernardino hat from this board at this point, but I'm also supportive of the airport and want to make sure that it succeeds as well, and we will be able to provide that service.
Mayor Navarro?
Yes,
Sir, my final question, more of a legal question for our attorney, Mr. Huber. Mr. Huber, the document suggests that it is effective April 27th. So my question is it a true up on the April 27th effective date, or is it when actually will the officers show up? On or about August 4th, the day of the Breeze Airways? Maybe Mr. Burrows wants to provide some information, but what is the 108? When does the clock start ticking on 180 days?
The plan was to make sure that there was obviously a service contract, so that we can have TSA go to the final steps to certify the terminal for flights. And it's a process, and it's a stage gate process, if you will. And so more than likely, we would be engaging in the next couple of weeks so that we can get them aligned. And really, it's not necessarily call-outs. It's identifying, as Ms. Pritchett has already talked to your city attorney today about, identifying which cadre of officers we're going to set up for training.
Okay.
And it's more training at this point, getting ready for August, so that the TSA team and the PD team, number one, can get to know each other.
Right.
But to get to know this airport. Because you've heard us say many, many times, you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. That's very true with TSA protocols. So, yeah, this would be coming pretty quick. But actually, the time they need to be stationed at the terminal, it's more for training at this point. So, Mark, I don't know if you've got new timelines on that.
No, that's exactly right. So we've got over 90 days to get them up and trained and familiarized and in lockstep with TSA. And that's really the need for the contract, because they end up in our airport security plan. They've got very specific and defined roles as part of that. And so that's the, they'll be rendering services come August 4th. But there's preparation to do prior to that.
And then we also have the ability with our airport security, because many of them have been through this LEO training. So if they've got questions, they can Q&A, because really the airside piece of it is still our airport security. It's actually on terminal and on the ramp where the PD is needed.
So, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, the effective date is as of today.
Okay.
The agreement rolls for 180 days from today.
Got it.
That'll get them trained. The officers don't just show up. As it says in paragraph 4, they have to be called out by the airport. Now, the airport will schedule the training. They'll schedule all the details. They'll get that handled. City will assign, as it says in paragraph 3A, the city will assign them. But it'll be based on a call out by the airport. So if they're not called out, there's no cost for it for that day, for example. And when they are called out, they will be paid for that day.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and just to add, not to disagree with Mayor Valdivia on exclusivity of providing the security for the airport. We have other agencies that are members of the JPA. We have the City of Highland, City of Loma Linda, the City of Colton, the County of San Bernardino, and I'm sure that our concerns collectively are likewise to Mayor Valdivia's, that we make sure that we have the security that we need for our new commercial passenger services. And these municipalities are willing to step up and say, yeah, we can work with you guys, and we can provide this for you folks, and then we can move forward from there to make sure that through redundancy, we have what we need to operate the airport according to TSA. Thank you. We have a public comment, I understand? Okay. We have Mayor Phil Duper from the City of Loma Linda. Please, sir.
Good afternoon. Just a couple of comments, and I've talked to a few of you individually about this. I want to thank you all for this effort as a group, because as was stated, especially by Mayor Navarro, we got to look out for the airport as a function of our JPA and all of us. So, as you all know, I'm a little bit of an expert. I work in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. Right now, no police department, no sheriff's department can hire enough people to fill all the vacancies that they have in the state of California. And it doesn't matter if you're a high-paying agency like the city of Irvine, or you're an agency here in this county. We can't fill the open vacant positions that we have. So, whoever we contract with and however we set this up, there probably will be a time, because I guarantee you at each of your own agencies right now, there are times when you're running short and you're way understaffed and you may not know it. That's a conversation for another day with your law enforcement leaders. But I would encourage this board to look at other options outside of our individual cities and look for a long-term goal. And one of the suggestions I would have is to possibly create our own entity here of retired police officers. There's plenty of people that are leaving the profession right now for a bunch of different reasons, but this is different. This isn't doing the regular law enforcement work, and probably the reasons why they're leaving and retiring. So I think there's an opportunity to do something here locally that the board should consider and explore, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Duper.
And then one other thought that staff had and want to share with the commission is kind of to Mr. Duper's point, but also the counterfoil of that, working with your agencies in getting to the academy and having the academy kind of open eyes to, tomorrow's law enforcement, that there are careers in airports. We do that with our internship programs, and happy to work with you all on those options too, because trying to stay ahead of the attrition, retirement piece in all industries is tough, but we certainly be open to do that too, if it pleases the commission.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Any other public comment? Clark? No? Okay. I have a motion from Mayor Valdivia, I understand, and a second from Mayor Lilburn. Is that correct? Yes. And that's to approve the form of a service agreement with the City of San Bernardino for provision of law enforcement services to support scheduled passenger service at the San Bernardino International Airport.
Can I ask for a clarification? I'm sorry, Kat, is that striking 9 and 10, or are we leaving that in with?
Is this the special events and the training? We'll probably leave the training component in. We can certainly strike special events. I think their intent with the special events is that these officers will not be assigned to special events. That's more the clarification of that section.
Okay.
So you want to strike or you want to leave?
I'm okay with striking.
Okay.
Motion.
So in the motion, we'll add to strike the provision of special event for the police officers?
We can, yes.
All right.
I'm going to ask the motion maker.
Yes, I am. Motion maker, are you okay with that?
I am.
Thank you. Second?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that also includes striking out the up to 50,000, right?
That's already been done.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So we'll include that in the motion?
Sure.
All right, we'll include then the striking of the
really?
not to exceed 50,000. All right, is that okay with the motion maker? Second?
I guess, sure. I'm not comfortable with not to exceed. I mean, this is 180-day.
Penny,
Okay,
Let's move this.
okay.
So,
I'm good as a second.
Could I clarify the motion, please?
sure, go ahead.
So we currently have a motion to approve the item, but striking out the special events provision, number 10, and striking out amount not to exceed from the document.
Okay.
And,
I think the special events was number 9.
oh, excuse me, number 9.
Yeah. Okay, everybody clear on the motion? Okay, Madam Clerk?
All right, so we have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Lilburn with those provisions. Members, please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes, with the exception of striking the 50,000. Thank you.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously as amended.
Thank you. Moving on to item 13, approve an agreement with CalStripe Incorporated in the amount of not to exceed 100,000 for painting services necessary to maintain airfield striping and markings.
move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Supervisor Rao and a second by Councilmember Rigsby. Do we have any comment on this, Madam Clerk?
No public comments.
Okay, any comment or questions from the commission? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call vote?
Yes, we have a motion by Member Lilburn and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 14 is to approve an agreement with American Security Group in an amount not to exceed $85,002.36 for the installation of emergency intercom system at the domestic terminal parking lot.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Supervisor Rao and a second by Mayor Valdivia. Any public comment?
No public comments on this item.
Any comments from commission members? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please.
We have a motion by Member Rao and a second by Member Valdivia. Members, please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 15. This is to approve an agreement with Airwave Communications in an amount not to exceed $159,347.43 for the installation and configuration of AvTech console system.
Move it.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Rigsby and a second by Supervisor Rao. Any public comment on this, Madam Clerk?
No public comments on this item.
All right, let's do the roll call vote, please.
We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Rao. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia? Yes. And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. Item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item 16, approve an agreement with SITA Information Networking Computing USA in an amount not to exceed $213,753.83 for a 5-year term of domestic terminal common equipment. Presenting on this is Mark Dennis.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I have a motion by
No offense to
Supervisor
Mr.
Rao and a
Dennis.
second by Lilburn.
We love your reports.
Any public comment, Madam Clerk?
No public comments on this item.
Thank you. Seeing none from commissioners, do the roll call vote, please.
We have a motion by Member Rao and a second by Member Lilburn. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 17, award construction to TNG Construction for the Leland Norton Way Speed Bump Project in the amount not to exceed $43,061.
Question?
Question from Mayor Valdivia.
Thank
and
you,
Jeff
sir.
Burrow will be the presenter.
Well, Mike, do you want to present first? I just have a simple question. We could
can certainly go
suspend the
with your question.
presentation.
You can certainly go with your question.
So the emphasis on the engineering and construct of the speed bump, is it more of a hump or is it actual bump?
The definition on the actual plan that we did is speed bump and hump. So take your pick on that one. But it's actually 4 to 5 feet wide. And it's about.
So it's a hump?
Yes.
Great. Move for approval.
Second.
Approve.
Yeah, I'd like to just comment on that. Because at City Hall in City of San Bernardino, one of our council meetings, we debated humps and bumps.
We did.
For over an hour and a half. And I don't know if we ever really determined which was which.
It was
So
like in 2013.
I support this item. But
Thank you very much.
humps and bumps are really important. It's really important whether it's a hump or a bump.
I learn something every day.
There is a difference.
Did you get clarification as to which
I
one
don't
is
think
which?
we ever got clarification. I think we tabled it.
A speed bump is typically 12 to 18 inches wide with a certain elevation
higher.
on it. Yep. A speed hump is usually about 5 feet wide, and it comes up and then it's flat and then it's down on the other side. So it causes people to go a little bit slower
So is
over
this
it.
agendized right?
You can quite effectively go about 20 miles an hour over speed bumps, and your shock absorbers will just take it. You can't do that with speed humps.
You know,
that are
I
about
thought it
5
was
feet
exactly
apart.
the opposite. I'm so glad to know that because where I live, there are speed. Now I know they're humps.
Jack of all trades, this attorney.
Yeah.
They're long.
They're wider.
They're wider. The
They
speed
go
bu-
from
speed
curb to
humps are
curb,
wider.
and they're about
Yeah.
5 feet wide.
Yeah.
With a steeper end.
I didn't mean to
the-
make this a joke, but
No,
it
but
is.
Thank you.
It kind of is.
Do I have a motion on this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Valdivia.
Thank you. And a second?
I was the second.
Thank you much. Any public comment on this?
None on this item.
Any other comments from commissioners? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rao. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Shred?
Yes.
Thank you. Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 18, approve change order number 2 to the contract with Bodell Construction Company for an additional amount of not to exceed $45,649 for the fuel farm expansion project.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other comments from commissioners?
Mr. Burrows, when will the fuel farm be finalized and when can we celebrate it?
It'll actually be, Jeff, is it this week?
Yes, it is finalized, and celebration is fun.
And so
whenever
our
we celebrate.
contractor is very excited to show you all their pride and joy. And so we'll be coordinating calendars. Obviously, it's been busy, several weeks here, but they do want to do kind of a barbecue and get to know you. It's a great build team.
They are planning an event for us.
Yeah, like a barbecue luncheon kind of thing.
Barbecue won't be next to the field.
No. Thank you. Thank you.
It's going to be 500 feet away from the...
And I'm not cooking, so.
I'm all about limiting liability.
All right.
Just like a lawyer. You talking about my cooking?
So I have a motion by Supervisor Rowe and a second by Mayor Lilburn. Madam Clerk?
And we have no public comments. Yes, we have a motion by Member Rao, a second by Member Lilburn. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Shred?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passed unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 19. This is to approve a contract with Sign Industries Incorporated for replacement and installation of new airport wayfinding and signage improvements related to the initiation of scheduled air passenger service. The amount not to exceed $262,299.46.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Valdivia, second by Rigsby. Any public comment?
No public comments.
Any other comments from commissioners? Madam Clerk?
Yes, we have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Shred?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving to item 20. This is to approve services agreement with Titan Aviation Fuels for procurement of aviation fuels and related support services. Presenting on this is Wendy Bechtel. Wendy, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Our current fuel provider contract has expired. And to be consistent with our policies and procedures, staff solicited proposals from aviation fuel suppliers to provide bulk fuel purchases and delivery along with specialized services for Luxaver SBD. And over a 3-year period with 2 one-year extensions. The RFP was posted on the SBIAA website and sent out to 7 well-known fuel providers. 5 of the providers attended a job walk at Luxaver SBD. 4 proposals were received by 4 qualified fuel suppliers. A review committee that consisted of our Director of Finance, our Director of Aviation, myself, the FBO manager, and Luxaver's business service specialist was put together to carefully go through the proposal in accordance with the criteria set forth in the RFP. With consideration of qualifications, past performances, product delivery plan, reasonable fuel cost, equipment, business development, and other supporting services, the committee unanimously selected Titan Aviation Fuels as the most competitive. I have a fuel representative from Titan Aviation Fuels here today, Mr. Kyle Voorhees, that would like to say a few words.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Wendy, and to the board, good afternoon. Like Wendy said, my name is Kyle Voorhees. I'm the Southwestern sales rep for Titan Aviation Fuels. Let me give you a little history of our company. Titan Fuels was founded in 1975. We have been in business for 47 years and have exclusively served the aviation industry. We have served directly along with major refiners, bringing San Bernardino secure supply, clean, high-quality fuel. Titan Aviation Fuels is one of the largest suppliers of aviation fuel products in the United States. Our FBO network is over 650 FBOs strong. In addition, we serve airlines, corporate flight departments, and aerial applicators. We have a professional flying aviation sales staff that assures top-notch, highly professionalized customer service and a greater understanding of your FBO business. We provide a high level of quality service and consider our customers to be our partners as well. I'd like to take this moment to say thank you to the board and to the Luxaver team for reaching out to us when your current fuel supplier was struggling to get you fuel. We are extremely honored to support and help you guys in that time of need. I also like to say thank you for considering Titan Aviation Fuels, and we hope you choose us as your partner for the next 5 years. We are looking forward to working together alongside with you and looking forward to a fruitful future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from commissioners? Yes, Supervisor.
Thank you. So there was some question on the bidding process that's been brought to our attention at the commission with paperwork here at the dais. Could you speak to that, please? And have you seen it?
Yeah, Supervisor, I'd be happy to speak with that. I was part of the evaluation team as well. So consistent with the RFP, we laid out what the requirements were for evaluation, and there were broad requirements that included past performance, reliability, company history, services, specialized services, and also reasonableness of fuel costs. And it was pretty interesting. So we took we had a collective meeting where we dove into each proposal quite deeply. And we each independently rated each of the proposals consistent with the RFP requirements as they were set forth, and we scored them independently. But interestingly, out of all of the different proposals that we did review independently, we collectively came to the same conclusions and ranked each of the firms in the same order. The numbers weren't exactly the same out of our evaluations, but the results were the same. And again, that was consistent with what was laid out in the RFP.
So I think the statement that's reflected in front of us is that there was confusion on what exactly that they were bidding on, whether it was exclusive fuel sales or non-exclusive, and that their bid would have been different and more competitive had that been clear.
No, it was pretty clear that it was at our discretion if we were going to go with one fuel supplier or multiple fuel suppliers. And the reason that we wanted to consider those different paths, because we're looking out for the reliability of our fuel supply at the airport. And we got into a pinch for about a 6-month period. And because of that, we took on a second fuel supplier for that period, which happened to be Titan Aviation. And so we've had 2 fuel suppliers since then so that we're able to smooth out the bumps. And so when we developed the proposal and sent it out for everyone to equally evaluate, which included an on-site job walk, so everyone could get the same answers and get the, everyone had an opportunity to hear the questions that were brought up. And that included, during the process, just like with any proposal that's submitted, we take all questions as requests for information, and then we respond to them to everyone who arrives so that everyone can see the same questions and the same answers, and they all have the same information to submit their proposals on. So cost was one component of it, but it was not the only component of it. Service was an important matter. Delivery was another important matter. And we took that all into consideration in our evaluation.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions, commissioners? Any public comment on this item?
Yes, as the supervisor stated, we had one comment come in via email, which was given to the commissioners, and I do have one here in person.
Okay, we do have a request to speak, and it's Justin Baduro, Sales Manager. Epic Fuels.
Thank you for the introduction. This is actually my first time speaking in front of a board, so forgive me if I'm a little nervous. But the letter that was sent to the board, the commission, to review, do need some corrections. The savings that we would have saved you was $608,000 per year over the course of 1 year of that contract. We are your current supplier at this airport. The troubles we ran into were not our troubles. It was truck driving and supply issues, which means that the oil and the refineries were having issues actually supplying the fuel. A lot of refineries shut down, so that was some of the main components that actually hit those items. So what we do want to introduce is with this letter and me talking up here is we have shown that we can perform. We have shown that we can do this contract. We can save this airport a lot of money over the course of 5 years, $3.5 million. The main component, the ambiguity with the language, was that they wanted to be able to have multiple suppliers. When that language was introduced to your customers at the airport, those contracts that came up for those cargo customers were being awarded to other customers. We were told one was awarded right after the questioning was supposed to be submitted so that we couldn't respond and ask, is it truly exclusive? So one of the contracts was awarded to another supplier, which made us think that we weren't going to be exclusive. So we made the best option possible to show you 3 options. One was just to be the retail sales of the FBO. The second was to be the retail sales and the reseller. But the third one was an exclusive offer based on the fact that we saw a contract being awarded to someone else. Because of that, we felt that this was the best business decision that we could make and not put our assets at jeopardy, because we could not assure, based on what was going on during the RFP process, that not only one contract, but another one was being awarded to another supplier, not in this room. However, it was still done during the RFP process, and it made my business decisions with my team and my leadership question if we can make a better offer or not. So the ambiguity of the language really prevented us from doing a better job. And that's all, so.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any further comments from board members? Any other public comments, ma'am?
No other comments.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I heard this earlier. Did you guys consider option 3 as the comparison, and then other issues were involved and it was more complex than just price? Is that what you were saying earlier, Kat?
It's Wendy or Mark.
Mark or Wendy?
I just think Kat runs the place, so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear all of that.
I was just wondering, did you guys consider option 3 as your comparison with the other proposed contractors?
Yeah, we were very fortunate in that we received 4 quality proposals, and we looked at each of them thoroughly, and several of them did include alternate and creative structures. However, we weighed on balance after weighing all of the different considerations. We each ranked the vendors in the same exact order, and we certainly considered all of the information that was provided to us in the proposals, including what Mr. Vadero had discussed today.
Okay, my next question is, do we tend to price our fuel as just a pass-through? So we're not really, if the fuel is cheaper, we charge our customers less, and if it's more expensive, we charge our customers more. So it doesn't affect us either way.
That's correct, yeah. So we take the bulk commodity price, and then we've got a fixed margin markup on top of that.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Okay. I'm entertaining a motion for item number 20.
It's a vote time.
I'm entertaining a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you. Councilmember Rigsby moves for approval. Chair will entertain a second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Question from Mr. Charette.
Yeah, I'm sensing that maybe this board is having a problem with, in that it took so long to get a second motion. And I just can't help but look at a $704,000 a year savings. And you have obviously all the information, we're in all the meetings, I've got one document, and I just got it. So forgive me but that looks like a pretty sizable savings. And if we're comparing apples and apples, which is, we must not be, in order to pass up a $705,000 a year savings. Can you address that in some simple way? I mean, this is not a simple process.
It's not,
And it's
no.
big dollars, and it's very important to us. And savings, of course, and being cost-effective in any way we can is our responsibility.
You're absolutely correct. There's a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of different ways to view the proposals that were part of this, which is why we took a set of eyes from a lot of different perspectives. So our director of finance was on the team from a financial perspective. I was on the team from my expertise, as was Ms. Bechtel, who is our FBO manager and has lived in this business for probably 35 years. I'm guessing, I'm not trying to date anyone, but she's been doing this for a long, long time as well. 32, I was way, way off. As with our business analyst at the FBO. And from those different perspectives, how you define value is interesting. We typically don't ask a competing vendor to analyze his competitor. That wouldn't be appropriate. But we did analyze the economics of this, and we found the best value independently, yet collectively, through Titan Aviation.
Thank you.
Mr. Cousineau, anything you want to add to that? I mean, obviously, you were part of the team. I think it might be helpful to get your thoughts.
The one thing I would add, I know for me, I was very keen on looking at reliability of fuel delivery. That is the lifeblood of maintaining an active and vital airport operation. And that was a key factor in my ratings when I was in that particular section of all the RFPs. In particular, the experience we've had over the last, my 2 years here, and the last 6 months in particular, where we had 2 fuel service providers. We did not have any issues with one, and we've had more issues with our existing one. So that was factored into my ratings.
Thank you, and that's very helpful to me. Thank you very much.
Question.
Question from Mr. Rigsby.
Does our new fuel farm give us more tolerance for delivery issues?
Yes, it does for the time being. It does. So we have more flexibility. We have more storage on site to buffer out some of the highs and the lows, particularly as forest service is upon us. But as we continue to grow, certainly certainty of fuel supply is of critical importance to us, but that does help buffer the ups and downs.
And to our fuel expert's point, I mean, trucking was an industry-wide issue, and that's very true. And we felt it along with our partners in Ontario and elsewhere. I mean, it was a big deal, and still is to some degree. It's gotten a bit better, but we are presently with the current fuel farm design truck only. We have the option of potential pipeline deliveries in the future, but that's obviously something that has to be planned and permitted and so forth. So we are looking at all avenues at all times.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Cousineau, just for a matter of information, how much do we spend annually on fuel?
60 million.
That's a question that's based on the market price of fuel, but right now we're looking about 25 million gallons a year in fuel coming up, times $7. So, I mean, we're looking probably $750 million potentially, or 75 to $80 million in the next year.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and the other variable in this, as you saw in the business plan slides, is our volumes are increasing continually, which is why getting that fuel farm completed when we did, as Mr. Gibbs indicates, really needed to happen when it did, so that we're prepped and support our USDA friends on the tanker base.
Okay, thank you. So I do have a motion by Councilmember Rigsby and a second by Mayor Lilburn. Any public comment? Any other public comment on this?
No further public comment, and I see nobody approaching the dais.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Lilburn. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Valdivia?
Yes.
And Member Shred?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 21, approved ground lease agreement with Unical Aviation Incorporated for 23.9 acre aircraft ramp expansion. On this, presenter is, excuse me, Mark Gibbs.
Thank you, Mayor. So this expansion site has been envisioned for some time and was initially part of a leasehold that was Unical's prior to COVID-19. So it got taken away for a bit, but now it's back, and it's 23.9 acres. So if you see the 3 aircraft on the picture above there, that was their original footprint on the airport, and that's just over 7 acres. This would expand their existing footprint, and by doing this, it would do several different things to the benefit of the airport. Number one, it would consolidate a lot of aircraft parking on what is now the commercial side of the airport, and it would move it over to this location, which is on the far northeast side of the airport. And for you, to help get your bearings, this abuts the San Manuel development that's immediately to the north of that orange line there. So Primary terms, this would be for a 10-year agreement with 2 5-year options. Unical would construct the additional acreage for aircraft ramp, so it'd be structural pavement for aircraft, large aircraft parking. The base rent during the initial 10 years would be $78,000 a month. Thereafter, it would move to $125,000 a month plus CPI increases. So there's a rent credit for construction of this new ramp pavement during the initial term of the lease. And it's a triple net lease, and would be happy to answer any questions you may have on this important development.
Comments or questions from commissioners?
Question.
Questions, sir?
Mr. Gibbs, regarding the rent credit, there is a variance there of about $60,000 from the proposed $78,000 to now $125,000. The question is, when does that kick in? At what time does that? When does the $125,000 kick in?
So yeah, no, that's a great question. So after the initial term of the lease is over, which is a 10-year period, then the rent abatement would stop. So they're amortizing the cost of construction over the initial term of the lease, and thereafter it would adjust. It would come back without the rent credit, and then at that point forward, it would include CPI.
What is the aggregate total of the rent credit?
It's about $4.3 million.
What's the cost of the improvements?
It's about $4.3 million.
And how is that assessed?
So they have received quotes from contractors for the construction of this site.
And they open book shared all that with us.
I'm sorry, say that again, Mr.
They
Burrows?
open book shared the bid results with us so we could see it and verify not just that, but their cost of capital.
Was it more cost effective that they would be burdened with the improvements versus a public agency?
Yes, and particularly with all of the various requests we have to you all, like at this meeting, for making sure we focus the funding on completing existing capital and getting ready for airline service. Leveraging their capital has always been a good tool for us.
So the benefit for the taxpayer, for the viewing audience, is that the $4.3 million in improvements are a tangible effect in the presence of Unical. And so that when
Absolutely.
they, if and when they do depart,
it becomes ours.
we now have the $4.3 million worth of pavement
Absolutely.
improvements and project plan that has been improved. So thank you.
Yep. And as you saw with Mr. Gibbs' presentation there, that's precisely how we amortized the existing Unical site to the south there. So we know how they work, they know how we work, and they've been good.
My final question is the CPI. You suggest then that there's a CPI on the lease. What is that tied to, and what is the average amount of CPI? There's various multiple subsets of CPI, so what are we tying ours to?
Yeah, we use the Riverside Orange County Urban All Index, I believe it's called, for our CPI adjustments.
And it's straight up CPI. So CPI is high, like we all expect. It is what it is. So there's no cap on this.
Very good. Move for approval.
Thank you. Move for approval by Mayor Valdivia.
I'll second.
Question.
Question by
Is the CPI base year 10, or is the CPI base year now?
No, it's annual. So
What I mean is
day one.
It starts from now.
Yeah.
So
And each year you go do the calculation. And our property management team is really good at that. So they work with finance. They actually talk. It's great. And so they're team effort on it.
Are they in good standing?
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, any public comment on this item, Madam Clerk?
None on this item.
All right. So I have a motion by Mayor Valdivia and a second by Councilmember Charette to approve item number 21. Madam Clerk, please.
Yes, thank you. We have a motion by Member Valdivia and a second by Member Charette. Members, please state your vote for the record. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
yes.
Member Rao.
Yes.
Member Lilburn.
Yes.
Member Valdivia.
Yes.
And Member Charette.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Point of order, sir.
Yes, please.
Mr. President, I do have another commitment. I'll be leaving the meeting, and I'll excuse myself, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck to you. Yep. Where'd the supervisor go? Can we conceal with business? We have 4 people. Are we good with quorum? All right. Oh, she's coming back? Okay. All right, she'll return. In the meantime, let's move on to item number 22. This is consider and discuss the SBD Good Neighbor Program Quarterly Report for January through March of 2022. Mark Gibbs, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Each quarter, we like to report out the results of the Good Neighbor Program. As the airport continues to grow and develop, we're always mindful of our place in the community. And while we continue to grow, we want to be mindful of that community. And so that's how we ended up developing the Good Neighbor Program. We do this with our aviatrix team, and here with us once again is our aviatricee, Ms. Rosemary Barnes, to walk you through the results of this last quarter. There might be a button on the side.
Might be.
It should be on.
Is that it?
There you go.
Hello, everybody. President Navarro, Commissioners, Mike and Mark, really great to be back in touch with you here and in person. I think this is the first time you've all been back 100% in person, so congrats on that. Thrilled to be able to give you an update on our program. And just listening to this meeting today, I mean, a common thread of growth. So I think this program, even more so, thank goodness we established it when we did, because growth means, you know, growth in operations and making sure our community have the resources, the outlet, the education about our aircraft operations and what it means for them, for the community, and having a place to go to share their thoughts and comments. Let's go to slide 4, please. Just wanted to point out some of the notable news for the first quarter for the program. We published the Winter 22 edition of the newsletter, Good Neighbor News. We were thrilled to see a 26% increase in newsletter subscribers in the first 3 months of the year. And all credit goes to a pop-up promotion on the airport's website. It's amazing and of course, with the publicity we've had over the last couple of weeks, just more and more people are finding us, and their first invitation is to subscribe to the newsletter. So we're reaching more and more community members through that. So we're really thrilled with that outcome. Amber and I are working on the spring edition of the newsletter, so look for that in your inboxes next week. Through our promotion of the program, through social media and our other means of communicating, we are continuing to share awareness with our community about the airport and those 5 business lines that were shared earlier in presentations. Some of those unique operations, we had our Vice President visit us this past quarter. We had some military aircraft, and of course we had charter aircraft supporting Super Bowl and the winning Los Angeles Rams, which is very exciting for the region. So just wanted to let our community know who's using our airport, why, and so they're understanding more and more the airport and the vital resource that we play here for the community. And of course, those preferred flight procedures, we continue to promote those with our pilots as well as the community, those highways in the sky. And then certainly Breeze Airways has become a weekly, if not more, post to our community, letting them know about this great service that's coming, asking them to, book their seat, and just getting out the word that that's coming and what that means for them. Let's go to slide 8. I'm just going to briefly touch on the monthly data, and then I'll go into the quarterly. In January, we had 21 noise comments filed by 10 households. Let's go to slide 9. And I just want to show you where those comments came from for the month of January. From Colton, we had 3 households sharing the majority of those comments. Let's go to slide 11. In February, we had 14 noise comments filed by 3 households. Let's go to slide 12. And for February, for Colton again, we had 2 households sharing the majority of the comments. Slide 14. March, we had an increase with 35 noise comments filed by 10 households. Let's go to slide 15. I just want to focus on this March a little bit. I had in my mind, okay, there was so much more publicity about the airport in March, and what did that mean for this increase in noise comments? And then there were a couple of community
cities or towns that I hadn't seen appear in previous reports, and I've been working with you all on this for quite a few months. So I just want to point out for Colton specifically, obviously we had a significant increase in comments. One household in particular, our team at the airport, we were able to partner with the FAA to engage with that one particular household, taking those communications to an elevated level and to be more productive, so that the FAA was working with that community member with their particular concerns about aircraft operations. We thought that was just a productive way of handling that for that one particular community member. And then I also want to point out again, Mentone, Rim Forest, Crestline, I've never seen comments from those communities before. And I did notice that one of those comments from those 3 community members was actually positive. It was actually reinforcing the need for the airport. So again, and that's why we call it a comment report, because sometimes those comments are positive, which we're really thrilled to see. So that was really nice seeing that support. Slide 17, please. Get into the data now for the quarter. Yes, the comments did increase year over year. Of course, that's due to growing airport, growing aircraft operations, but also we're asking our community to reach out to us. We're giving them this outlet. So we're hearing from them, which is which I'm really pleased they continue to find us. Slide 18. And here you have the total comments and households for the quarter. 70 noise comments for the first 3 months of the year, filed by 17 households. And again, Colton, 76% of the comments came from the city of Colton. And then between Colton, Highland, and Redlands, we had about 90% of the overall comments coming from those 3 cities for the quarter. Slide 19. Last quarter, we decided to show you even more how we break out some of the information. So here again, we have the top 5 commenters for the quarter. And again, Colton is showing 90% of the comments for the top 5 commenters for the quarter. Slide 20. And just showing the year-over-year trends. Yes, the number of comments have increased, the number of households increased, and that's just showing the charts on what that difference was year over year. Slide 22. And for the quarter, again, last quarter, we decided to break out the comments by aircraft category. You're seeing that commenters shared that jet activity was the #1 concern. And then unspecified. Some community members don't actually know what type aircraft it is, or just having a general awareness of aircraft, and that's why they share their concerns. So those were the top leading categories for type of aircraft category. As far as types of concerns, flying over the home, as well as unusually loud, were those the top comments received. And the chosen method for filing comments continues to be the web form, with almost 83% of our community members sharing their information that way. They find it very easy to share their information by going online. Slide 23. And here's just that information again in table format, and then the pie chart shares what the community is asking for as far as if they want a response or not. And the airport makes every effort to engage with community members if they do want their question or concern returned. And that's what our team is here for, to reach out and engage with our community members about that. Slide 25, please. And this is the heat map, again, sharing within that circle. I know it's a little hard to see, but that most comments come from within 5 to 10 miles of the airport. Okay, and then we're going to the final slide. So quarter over quarter, the noise comments actually decreased by about 50%, which was great. The last 3 months of 2021 compared to the first 3 months of 22. We're thrilled to see that. And the number of households decreased too. But as you saw earlier, year over year, the noise comments and the number of households did increase. And again, as we continue to show this program, getting a lot of traction, community members are finding us. We're continuing to engage with them to share what the airport's doing, what our operations are all about, and how we're here to serve them. So we're really thrilled to be able to continue to promote this program and let them know we're here. And as the airport continues to grow with Breeze and hopefully future airlines coming, it's just more opportunity for our community members to find us and share their information and get the information in response from us as far as what they need to know about their local airport and how we are serving them. So thank you for your attention. You'll see this report online later today and in the spring newsletter in your inboxes next week. And then Mark and I are happy to answer any questions you have regarding this report.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive report.
Thank you.
I know that Colton's at the top of the category, and I know why. And I want to thank you for taking on that task to talk to those people there.
Absolutely.
I think it's 3 homes in the area.
That seems
And they're
to
right
be
there in the Cooley Ranch area.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. They're primarily from one individual in Cooley Ranch.
Right. So it's unfortunate they weren't here when Norton was here. And that's the reason for the expanded comments in that area. Right? So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Vice President. I have to be at my City Council for a budget meeting at 5 p.m. and I got to drive over to Colton. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. This is the first time it's happened to me, so there's your...
So fortunately for those that have other commitments, the action plan is receive and file. So if you'd like to defer off of that, just before you go, I would like to acknowledge Amber. She works hand in hand with the Aviatrix team, and we've got a lot on her plate. You will be getting invites, as we said, for the Fuel Farm luncheon. And then coming up in May, we have a World Trade Week conference. So that'll be down at the Doubletree in San Bernardino. And on the heels of that, we're working on an energy summit at Bear Springs early June. So I'll try to get invites out. I just didn't want to overload your inboxes. So that's it.
That's it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Again, thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here. There being no other business to attend to for the San Bernardino International Airport. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, Fred.
That was easy.